Here, so remember that they're fuming me and poisoning me and changing my voice. I'm going to start this part of my story with two scriptures, two verses, Micah 4:13 and Micah 6:10. Micah 4:13. Rise and thresh, daughter Zion, for I will give you horns of iron. I will give you hooves of bronze, and you will break to pieces many nations. You will devote their ill-gotten gains to the Lord, their wealth to the Lord of all the earth. Again, I'm not gender neutral. Daughter Zion refers to a spiritual place. A city is referred to as a female. Micah 6:10. Am I still to forget your ill-gotten treasures, you wicked house, and the short ephah, which is accursed? He goes on to say, shall I quit someone with dishonest scales with a bag of false weights? Your rich people are violent, your inhabitants are liars, and their tongues speak deceitfully. So Micah 4:13, it talked about ill-gotten gains, and in Micah 6:10, it talks about ill-gotten treasures. So a very key theme in my story, in my life, is that other people cheated me. They cheated God. They cheated me out of my right to lead, made their own invalid orders, and they have ill-gotten gains and ill-gotten treasures that they brag about and seek to leverage, and they seek to pretend that they're superior to everyone, including God and I, as they do. Okay, so now for the picture on the screen. This video that I'm citing here is, and I saw the annotations of it because I have a condition that doesn't allow me to listen to the videos or to listen to music, what have you. And it basically said that you have to be evil, right? That's despicable, in order to date. They want people to be evil just to date. Something that should be the easiest thing in the world, especially in a country like America with over 330 million people, and a place like California, which has over 30 million people. Okay, it's like 39 million last time I checked. I think it dropped to 38. It's insane for it to be hard for someone who's tall, dark, and handsome, who's mulatto, etc., to get a date, right? Bob Marley was a mulatto. Obama, right? These are popular people who aren't anywhere near as handsome and righteous as I am. And character, right? What's on the inside should matter the most, right? You know, you had Maxwell, the singer, okay, Booker T. Washington, and not that I was a big fan of him, and so on and so forth. So, society is so crazy that is the argument that they're making by their actions. And that woman, a female, she's like a white Jewish female, white Jewish lady, we'll say, she pointed it out in her video, almost certainly without ever hearing any of my videos or who I am. And I've been saying this for years. I said, look, if you shun me, it's going to cost you later. And now, because they kept feeding into the evil in society, there's people who are saying this, not just her, there's tons of videos like this. They're saying you have to be evil just to date. They're saying there's a bunch of narcissists everywhere, what have you. Pretty straightforward, right? So we find ourselves in a defining moment, in a defining period. Okay, after my flesh dies, everything will be evil, whether you notice it or not. Okay, even the word notice, not ice, right? Malice, male ice. Justice, just ice. And they're referring to, people from Northern Europe, especially people from colder places, versus the heat, who they cheat. Okay. And so just like with dating, right? They want you to settle. Set, who's Bel's equivalent, right? Jupiter, Zeus, right? They're all connected to each other. The deity Set from Egypt, Zeus from Greece, Bel from the Middle East, right? Settle, Set El. So if you're ill and you're taking on the spirit and cultures and state of being of Set, then you settle. Feeble, right? Fee, Bel. I think that's a coincidence. Fear, Fee, Ra, scrambled. And Ra means God for the righteous and for the wicked. In Hebrew, for example, Ra means evil. And in more than one place, in Isaiah, they say the Jews call good evil and evil good. And Micah says that the Jews hate good and love evil. As a group. He's talking to them as a group. That's what their own Torah says. Okay, again, I'm not trying to create hatred for the Jews. Shout out to the Jews. Hope you rally and obey God to me in time, what have you. But when somebody's own religion goes on and on about how they're a wicked people, Can that people then turn around and say to the Royal African Falcon Martial Art Order that she's clearly more righteous than Nelson Mandela, okay, for generations? To the point of righteousness, me, and say, hey, that they should magically rule over the righteous. When their own book in Proverbs 16:12 says the throne is established in righteousness. Pretty straightforward. Okay. You must understand that I'm the most normal person, right? Even the word normal is a play on words for the letter N and moral, right? It's an anagram. Has the word moral scrambled into it. Because I'm more moral than everyone else, I'm more normal. Because that creates that mental clarity, that moral, mental, spiritual, and romantic clarity. Then there's the hybrid factor. My parents were so moral and fair that during a racist time in American history, a racist time in a certain way, because it's still racist, right? And it's going to be racist until the human race goes extinct because of their scientific racist ill-gotten gain path, which even if they tried it, their hardest not to be racist after I die, because just to live is to continue those racist spirits. It's always going to be a racist nation. It's always going to be a racist planet for that reason. So they were decent enough, moral enough to, to mix together, right? Mix the races and have 3 children and so on and so forth who are mulatto. I think about, the conservative inbred or the conservative one race person. And again, I don't care if you're one race or not, but when you think about what it means to be moral and normal, you're going to find that the pinpointing must be a mulatto. It must be a mulatto person who's righteous, who's the son of God. That's the pinpointing normal and moral. So I'm more normal than everyone else. And there's a bunch of crazies sabotaging me, trying to make it so I seem crazy. And they say things like get better, which is Masonic wordplay, occult wordplay, Western wordplay. It's a play on words, scribe wordplay, a play on words for get the person who's better than you are. Mentally, spiritually, more handsome, better at life, better at martial arts, what have you. They say, we hope you get better. The culture is so evil, right? Hello, hell, oh, right? Evil is live spelled backwards. Part is trapped, scrambled, okay? That's not a coincidence. It's by design. And the people who designed it that way are laughing at you, especially if you don't believe me or play stupid. They're like, oh, that person's not too bright. Be right and righteous, bright. Not be evil and dumb. Being evil is dull and dumb. When the disciples didn't understand moral concepts, Jesus said, are you so dull? Okay, we look at Proverbs 1, it says that people who are like, they use words, I forgot what they were, but they use words that, I think it's simple is one of them. Yes, simple. It's someone who's morally deficient. So simple and stupid and basic, right? It's because they're morally deficient, because life is about being moral. And if you're not moral, if you cheat me out of my right to lead, you're not too smart. You're not too bright. And the sun is the symbol of the bridegroom, the top martial artist, the champion. Combine Psalm 18 and Psalm 19, you'll see that I'm right about that. So we go back to, Illuminati Part 2 again. We're on by the month, we're on the 15-year anniversary by the month of my first official video, Illuminati Part 1, where I talked about the immorality of white people forming secret societies like Adam Weishaupt's Enlightenment era society, which continues in neo-pagan forms to this day, and neo forms, and there, it was laughable then, it's laughable now, right? And I said, they stole this, knowledge and, martial arts and other forms of wisdom from Egypt, and they sought to take credit and act like that they were the warrior pharaohs and what have you. And I brought up Horus and so on and so forth. I believe it's Part 2 where I said, first remove the log from the white community, from the white man's eyes, before you remove the speck from the black community's eye. Okay? And I didn't say in an offensive way. I said in a very diplomatic way. I said I would hope that my white brothers would remove the log from their own eye before removing the speck from the black community's eye. And it has to do with who's ripping who off more, who kills on a higher level, mass murder, mass drugging, mass starvation, whose policies, whose culture kills more, whose culture is more toxic, why they pretend to be more decent, and they pay lip service and pretend that they're polite, but truly being polite and well-mannered is treating people fairly. It's also important to note that I say things, like tricks are for kids, right? A chick who is a chicken, right? A coward who's stupid enough to date the wicked is a trick. And silly rabbit, right? Silly rat, silly demon, silly wolf, silly snake, silly brood of vipers. Tricks are for kids. So it's important to note that people are acting like brats and sissies with like a pacifier, those things that babies suck on, Okay, and they're saying, no, we won't do it. We won't rally. No, why should I? That's a lot of work. Okay, if they said the same thing about going to work, you would say, what the hell is wrong with you? If people in the IDF or in Hamas said that they don't want to do the work and go to war, you'd say, hey, those guys are a bunch of pussies, a bunch of brats. But when Christ comes back, you don't want to admit that your society's full of a bunch of cowards and pussies and brats. Okay, we'll say if they, and we know they have, don't want to rally and obey God through me because they're scared of the hardship and the mental stress. That's some bitch ass shit. Pretty straightforward, right? Okay. So it's also a matter of species. The people who don't get that say, well, why should they? They'll miss out on birthday parties and they'll be targeted and da-da-da-da-da. Why should they risk breaking a nail? They're a different species, which is not a warrior species. It's a nerd species, which goes back to the wordplay for the word dragon, for example. And every race has its dragons, right? But the wordplay given to us by the Judeo-Western, Judeo-Christian cultures is, the Western culture in general, is the G, Jew, gay, nerd. G meaning the earth deity, Gaia, gay, I-A. Okay, so the person is three things immediately. Four things, really, that are all kind of the antithesis of the holy martial art warrior. The Son of God, what have you. They're Antichrist. One is the Jews, who killed Christ, their spirit, right? The typical Jew, right? Like Borat, Adam Sandler, Bibi Netanyahu. Every Jew you can name every Jew you can think of off the top of your head. Every rabbi you've seen, describe their description. Are they focused? Are they serious? Are they intense? Are they mature? Are they righteous? They're not. No offense to anybody, but they're not. And that's what Isaiah was saying, Micah, Hosea, Zechariah, you name it. Obadiah. They are not righteous. A nerd is described as worthless and foolish and contemptible and boringly studious. That's not holy. That's not righteous. That's not this warrior, adventurous, kind of courageous, kind of insightful, wise, righteous, etc. That's not ideal. Okay. And so what I say is, and the gay is described as scatterbrain, right? You look up gay in the Urban Dictionary, no offense to the LGBT community, shout out to the LGBT community, hope you all repent, what have you. Gay in the Urban Dictionary is stupid and pointless. So is a gay parade the pinnacle of focus and maturity? No. Is gay porn? Is gay music? Is gay this? Gay art? Da-da-da. No, they're going for, they embrace. It's like Pinky being proud to be Pinky. No offense to anybody. I'm not trying to insult them. I'm really not. I'm just trying to explain this here. Even though they are persecuting me, I'm mature enough to not be trying to insult them every chance I get or something. But if I did, it would be understandable. Because they are persecuting me as a group with none of them trying to help me out. Just throwing a little bone here and there, if that's not very helpful. And trying to take credit for things, and it's just a mess. So we see the Simpsons, the Jetsons, they're very gayish, right? When people do something, say, typically they would say, that's gay, and they would stigmatize it. And they wouldn't see it as respectable. So in its own Western cultural context, which is really a Greco-Judeo, Greco-Roman, Neo-Greco-Roman, Neo-Roman, Christian, and pagan and atheist culture, it's like a melting pot for these things, right? And they kind of forced them on the other races, right? We see that their own races and cultures are seen as anti-Christ and not worthy of someone participating in them, for example, if they're mulatto. Now, bear with me. Now, I'm not trying to insult the white Jew or LGBT community, but first of all, I just described the LGBT community. I described the Jews. Now, think about white people, okay? They'd be like, okay, those are black gangsters or Hispanic gangsters, okay? Those are Asian gangsters. It's Italian mafia, and they say we're Italian, we're not white. Why? Why would they say that, right? They said those are the white boys. I remember I saw this prison documentary, right? It was San Quentin or something. And they say that's where the blacks go, the BGF, 415, Kumis, Bloods, Crips, what have you. There's the Norteños, whatever. Okay, and they have respect and so on. I'm not trying to diss them when I say whatever. I'm trying to get this over with. And then these white guys say, well, we're the white guys. And this one guy goes, I'm a honky, hee-haw, hee-haw. You can't make this shit up. So in their own culture, do they have the utmost respect? Are they holy? Are they great warriors? Are they respectable? No. In their own culture, again, no offense, there's a difference between a black man and the man Igbo and a white boy. No offense to anybody. There's a difference between Mike Tyson, okay, and Adam Sandler. There's a difference between Michael Jordan and Bibi Netanyahu. There's a difference between Obama and Bibi Netanyahu. A difference between Martin Luther King and Ben Bernanke. Okay, in their own culture that they dominate, Judeo-Christian. They put the Judeo first, like Amun Ra, Jupiter Ball. They are not held in high esteem, and it's not because there's some mistake. It's because they didn't scramble to do what's right. And I'll end this. Let me just touch on this real quickly here. So there's the fair one, having a fair one versus being sabotaged in a fight. I wanted to touch on that, okay? And they sabotage and using the government to sabotage, so they failed miserably there. There's a fair maiden versus a fairy kind of gender neutral weirdo or a racist fairy themed Republican, okay? And I want to end this by saying, I also want to touch on, okay, I'll have to do that in another video, the labyrinth, right? Let me just touch on that really briefly here. This female in the labyrinth looks like my ex-fiance Mary Kate, this chick who broke my heart in Live Oak, Maria Mello. I don't want to put her on blast, but the word mellow was key. They do wordplay like that. Like this one female I went to school with in Webb called Kenya. Her name was Kenya. She was Asian. And Obama ends up, having being of Kenyan descent. Okay. So the female from the labyrinth looked like the female from Tears of the Sun, Monica Bellucci, who was also in Irreversible, is one of the most prolific and pronounced rape scenes in popular culture in all time. I think it's a European movie, but it's very popular here in America as well at the time it came out. And this anal rape scene. And there's a bunch of, LGBT people in Hollywood and pedophiles, and they rape kids. And they came out with a movie called Romeo Must Die, where Aaliyah looks like she could be like my more Jewish-looking sister or something. You see what I'm saying? And that clearly connects, right? Irreversible, screening out Jesus, right? Romeo Must Die, God is love, his son, the bridegroom, me. Christ, the champion, Psalm 19, Psalm 18, God trains his hands for battle. Okay. If you have any questions, put in the comments. I know I'm kind of shooting through this, but I don't want to make this too long. I still got to upload it, and they give me a hard time about uploading it, so I have to talk fast. I'm not bipolar or some. I have to talk fast for that reason. And I can slow down my speech and my energy at any time. So it's not a disorder. Okay. So the movie Labyrinth, they say Toby, which is like the word Obi, and the T is the feminine suffix. You look up the word Bat as an Egyptian deity, it should say on Wikipedia still that Ba meaning soul, and the T is the feminine suffix. Okay. And you see that, right, in certain body types, like the typical military body type, that kind of baby fat, right? Clean and C lean, strong and wrong. And no offense to anybody, this has to be said, I'm trying to clarify this stuff. As part of my story is explaining. So again, I want to end with this scripture. Finally getting to it, right? Where it talks about, it's in Micah. It says that they're the foolish builders, that they built their Jewish culture, right? The essence of their Jewish culture of this world. And none of them have achieved a divine state, a holy state, what have you, with bloodshed and wickedness. So here it is, Micah 3:10. Matter of fact, let's go to 3:9 and then we'll hit 3:10 because it kind of flows together here. Man, I went way over time. I couldn't speak fast enough, right? And it's like part like 44 or something, 45 or up there somewhere. Matter of fact, let's go to verse 8. But as for me, I am filled with power, with the Spirit of the Lord, and with justice and might, to declare to Jacob his transgression, to Israel his sin. And this is after in verse 1 it says, Then I said, Listen, you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel, should you not embrace justice? You're not embracing justice. Therefore, you're not the children of God. The children of God are filled with power and might from embracing justice, not like theater arts like the IDF and, Hamas and the American military, Russian, Ukrainian, all of them just do theater arts. They're not telling the truth. It's just the extension of politicians. The military is like a bunch of politicians giving orders to people foolish enough to follow politicians and risk being killed for politicians. I'm sure you can all know that it needs to be said. So again, verse 1, Then I said, Listen, you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel, should you not embrace justice? Verse 8, But as for me, I am filled with power, with the Spirit of the Lord, and with justice and might, to declare to Jacob his transgression, to Israel his sin. Is he saying, as for me, I'm more closely related to King David or to Abraham? No. It said, I'm living justice, they're not, and power and might. Hear this, you leaders of Jacob, you rulers of Israel, who despise justice and distort all that is right. That's the third time It's brought up, the word justice, in Micah 3. Who build Zion with bloodshed and Jerusalem with wickedness. Her leaders judge for a bribe, her priests teach for a price, and her prophets tell fortunes for money. Yet they look for the Lord's support and say, Is not the Lord among us? No disaster will come upon us. Therefore, because of you, Zion will be plowed like a field. Zion in this world seemed Galatians 4. It's not talking about me and my spiritual realm, my spiritual fortress with God in heaven, Zion, and Jerusalem in heaven, but Jerusalem and Zion in this world. So therefore, because of you, Zion of this world will be plowed like a field. Jerusalem of this world will become a heap of rubble. The temple hill a mound overgrown with thickets. And for them, because they have no gate, those things are like the temples, they're like the Mount Zion, they're gates, okay, to connect to God, so it becomes destroyed, so they're sealed out of heaven. Irreversible. Again, who build Zion with bloodshed and Jerusalem with wickedness. Foolish builders. Instead of justice and power, the Spirit of the Lord and might. I'm the only one who's doing that, and this is the end.